I'm Suzi Landolfi, and welcome to Be Crazy Well. Now, why would a therapist say that? Because we all have mental health struggles, even therapists. The good news is we have so much more information about how we can be crazy well. On my podcast, we don't focus on what's wrong with us. We want to know what happened to us. We're going to explore how trauma affected us, both negatively and positively. That's right. I said positively. It's called post-traumatic growth, and it's a real thing. Be Crazy Well will share mental health wellness practices, the newest mental health research, and most importantly, how we all get to create the person we deserve to be and the life we deserve to live. So join the mental health evolution and be crazy well. So I will tell you, just before I tell everybody who I'm talking to, I did teach in a jail, which is different from a prison. And most people don't know that. They use those words interchangeably, but they're not the same.
Yes.
So I did. I taught acting when I was 26 years old in a jail, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It is.
Truly. And then the second, I did a teenage talk show in Boston, a television show, and they sent me to go sit with all the scared straight guys. A lot of people don't know those lifers. And on where was it? Rikers Island? I forget where it was. It was somewhere. Anyway, no, Rahway prison. And so again, learned about so much wisdom from these men and women. So before we start, I just want everybody to know that I am here with Tom Cruz. Now everybody's going to go, Tom Cruz, you're talking to Tom, and then they're going to go run. And if they're on their phone, they're going to go try to go see you and everything like that. So I'm sure that's not the first time that's happened to you. I had a friend that I worked with at Boulder Crest, and his name was Keith Richard.
Okay.
So same thing.
Yep.
Same thing. I'm going out to dinner with Keith Richard. Everybody's like, what's all right. So this is the real Tom Cruise. Like, I'm going to tell everybody. The other one's an actor.
Yes.
You're the real one.
I'm the real one.
You're the one. You do your own stunts.
Yes, and my name's legitimate. Like his name that's not even his real name, anyways.
Right. So that's the other thing. So
I am the true Tom Cruise. Yes.
You are the true Tom Cruise. Say that fast 3 times. So I'm the clinical director of MVP called Merging Vets and Players. Most people who follow this podcast know that. And then I get access to all these amazing men and women. So one day I'm there and I hear about this guy in Dallas, this new member called Tom Cruise. And of course, we started all the jokes. And then all of a sudden I saw you on a call, and I saw you and I heard you and I went, okay, talk to this guy, because if the name of this podcast, which we're doing right now, Tom, is Be Crazy Well, you're about as crazy well as the person I know.
Yes. Very
Am
true.
I right?
Very true.
Right. Because that's okay. That's what people don't understand.
And that's why I asked you. I said, what's the topic to be, so I can change what personality I got to give you right now. Which one do you want?
And what did I tell you the topic was?
You. And
yeah,
so that's going to be very hard, but we'll work through that.
That's right. So it's you. So Tom Cruise, let's do this a little bit. There's going to be a bio about you and a picture. So people can read a little bit about you before they listen. But I want to hear what you want to tell us, just as sort of a quick introduction. And then let's get right into your work, or your story first. Okay. I'm always interested in people's stories. I don't really care about your diagnosis. I care about how you got there.
Okay.
Right. And then how you're going to get, where you want to go. So tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll start right in with your story. So you're military.
We'll go with my elevator pitch, like I give the guys as soon as every Wednesday I go into the jails and I ask the guys, all right, who's new here? And so I get new, and I'm like, oh man, okay, here's my pitch. So my name's Tom Cruz. I am a retired Army first sergeant. I did 26 years in the Army. I was an interrogator / counterintelligence, and my last duty station was NATO. And I loved my career. I did some great things. I was deployed all around the world. But my actual claim to fame, if you will, is I attempted suicide while in the military 12 years ago, 3 November 2010. and I attempted to take the life of my fiance, which is now my wife, and myself. And the only reason I'm alive today is not by my own choice. The reason I'm alive today is my wife's ability to talk me out of the situation, talk to people that were messaging me out of from the situation, and actually dealing with the police. And so for the past 12 years, I was able to break the stigmas also of the military. I was able to stay in with mental health disorders. I was able to keep my top secret clearance with the mental health disorders that I have. And we turned that into what we do now is we've traveled the world for the past 12 years. We've given our story to the White House. We've given our story to the VA. We've traveled from England to Ireland to Italy to all across the U.S. We're a part of every suicide prevention organization in the country. I'm a consultant for the White House. I'm literally sit on the TBI research funding for Congress for the third year in a row. Lived experience committee for SPRC, the Suicide Prevention Resource Center. And then I take all of that, and now I teach in the jails a 40-hour course, which is basically just telling them how to change their mindset. And then because I know they're going to lie to me in the jail, we offer a program on the outside that actually helps them through life struggles, from family to mental health to job discipline to just helping them change their environment both mentally and physically to have them be more successful on the outside.
So here's something I want to jump right into. So that's an amazing story, and I'm interested in the years up until November. Was it November 4th? Is that what you said?
November 3, 2010.
Yeah. All right. So we know one of the highest risk factors, if not the highest risk factor for suicide, is child abuse. Horrific, I should say, childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Did you experience some of that too?
No, I came from, not as far as child abuse in your traditional what you're thinking. So my mom and dad were married. My mom had me when she was 16, 17. My dad was 18, 19. They both quit high school to have me. So I'm the first one to graduate high school. I'm the first one to go to college. I'm the first one to have, if you will, 2 successful marriages. One, I'm divorced, and then I have a marriage now. And the kids and all that stuff. So really, and I have 2 younger brothers. So I really was the pinnacle of being able to help them out. So my parents did divorce when all of us were teenagers. We're not that far apart from ages, but once I turned around 17 or 18 is when they divorced. And that hit the family hard. One of my brothers went with my dad, and my youngest brother went with my mom. And I kind of was in the middle, and it was too much for me to bear. And so the Army was I had a full scholarship to college, but I blew it all away within 3 quarters. And the Army was the first thing to call me, and I ran to the Army. And so a lot of pressures of, I guess, having the divorce, and then me being the only one, really, because I was, not that my parents are dumb or stupid, but, once it got past high school, I was the only one that was able to help my brothers, help myself get through school and all that kind of stuff.
So I'm going to say this to you with all due love and respect. That is trauma. And now you're right. It's not being locked in a closet for 3 days. It's not being sexually molested. It's not being necessarily even beat up. And one of the things you also got from all that stress, that's a lot of pressure on a kid. Because if parents divorce as teenagers, they've been fighting before that. They don't have just hunky-dory, everything's wonderful, and then they divorce. Plus the fact they were kids themselves. So you were this child trying to grow, and sometimes may even grew faster than they did because they were so young when they had you, and they had to give up so much. And you're right, you also had to be the caretaker and the leader of 2 other children. You had to help. And then you said that one child went with mom and one with dad. So now we have a split. So, right? So we have that too. So the reason why I wanted to share all that, or ask you to share all of that, is because if you go back and make those connections, Tom, you'll see that you were trained to be a great caretaker, which is what you do now. You were trained to help people who were in crisis, your younger brothers, even mom and dad. You were trained to understand that there's 2 sides, which is war, if you will, right? Isn't that right? Now you're NATO. What's NATO supposed to do? Peacekeeping.
Yeah.
You're the
Yep.
peacekeeper in the family. You're the ones that have, I mean, I'm just showing you how you can make all of these. So you actually got some post-traumatic growth from that childhood that's helped you in this situation and some hurt. So I want to go back to the fact that not only did you want to die, but you wanted to take your fiance with you. And one of the things that we know about that is that I would like to know how many times mom and dad fought and you had to see that both of them were wrong. Both of them were struggling. Both of them added to the hurt of the family.
I think it's the opposite of that. We never so like my dad, again, you know, my mom's only 17 years older than me. My dad's only like 18 older. My dad played basketball. We were in basketball tournaments together. We were in football tournaments together. You know, we did a lot of stuff together. We did a lot of stuff together as a family. And my childhood was very good, and all of our childhood are very good. So I think it's the reverse of that. I think it's because we saw all the goodness. We never really saw the bad. Yeah, we saw some, I mean, but
Well,
it's
you
no
knew it was there
longer.
though, because they divorced.
Yeah, but we didn't see, they kept a lot of that behind closed doors. And so we never really saw, I think because of the shockness of them getting the divorce is what really threw all of us out, because we were
I
thinking
will go
like,
with that.
how could this happen? How could this happen? And it really made it made us have to decide and choose sides, which was really not something we had planned, I think. So it wasn't a matter of us ever seeing them fight and argue and be mean to each other. They kept a lot of that behind closed doors. It was the actual shocking of they're actually getting divorced, and here it goes, and now it turns a little more ugly.
Right. So let's go with that then, because that, if you didn't see it, you're right. If you're not having to separate mom and dad from, you know, an argument or anything like that, you're right. You're under a misconception that everything's fine. And you're right. And then there's this shock that things are not okay. And maybe even that you're supposed to hide when you're upset. You're supposed to hide when there's a problem. You're supposed to not share to people.
And
And
so to that fact, that is a lot of people's misconceptions of being able to do that stuff around their children, right? So for me, now that I have, you know, we have 7 kids all together. She has 4, I have 2, and we have 1 together. And Holden was actually born 2 years to the date of the incident. So my incident's 3 November 2010. He was born 3 November or 1 November 2012, brought home on 3 November 2012. But we have incorporated him. He's been, ever since, you know, he's 10 now. Ever since he's been in, we've had him. He's been at every suicide conference. He's part of everything. And he's actually incorporated in our story now. He actually can come in here and tell you, we've had him in front of police officers. We've had him in front of hospitals. He talks in front of everybody engagements, because I have not hidden any of this stuff or my feelings, because I wanted him trained when he sees me stare off, when he sees me upset. And he even knew I was upset today. And he came in there and says, "Hey, Dad, I saw you look a little stressed. Here, let me give you a hug." You know, instead of him being scared of me or run away or go hide, or, you know, when children live in a house that has drug, alcohol, mental health abuse or physical abuse, they're usually held away. They're kept out of the picture. They're not brought into the fold, and they kind of believe that's their fault. And I didn't want him
exactly
to be
what they
scared of
believe.
me. I wanted him to be able to, how can he help me? How can he be part of the solution? Not that I wanted him to have to deal with this at such a young age, but I think this has helped not only him integrate, be part of the family, know he's helping me, but it's helping him how he can actually voice his stuff, how he can actually ask for help without feeling judged, or that I'm gonna blow up on him, or not think he's serious about it. And how he can actually look at his peers now, because we know peers all the way down to elementary school are having issues. He can look at it, identify his peers, and be a leader amongst his peers now at 10 years old.
That's amazing. And I don't want to just say that, you know, every childhood's different. I always say every trauma and every symptom is like salsa. It's mild, moderate, severe. Like you get a choice, right? And so, and you also get from trauma, and whether it's in the military, childhood, and you've had both, it also gives you these superpowers. Like you never want to forget that. You never not want to look at your childhood and say, "Oh my God, it was just all terrible, and that's why I'm fucked up, and that's why I have mental health issues." No, you also have superpowers from that childhood. And even the shock of your parents getting divorced when you thought everything was hunky-dory, that you had to develop some great superpowers around that as well. Now take 26 years in the military and take a look at all those superpowers you got and trauma you got. Now, I will say, though, the body and the mind can only take so much.
Yes.
It
Yes,
can
I learned
only
that the
take
hard
so
way.
much. Right. And if you are the one holding all this shit together, if you're the firstborn and you're in charge, and then you become the staff sergeant, and you're this, like, when do you get a chance to say, oh, hey, listen, guys, I got to fall apart right now? You
And
don't get.
so on that note too, talking about that, so you're right. Like I was, I became a leader back in 1998. I've been leading troops since like 98 all around the world, combat, non-combat, whatever. And I really never was in a situation where I could go get help. Or actually, I didn't believe in you guys anyways. I never thought therapists was worth it. I didn't think they were. I didn't think
Neither.
they could help
I
me.
still doubt it. I
Yeah.
still doubt it.
But so my first bout with therapists was though, I had a boss. We were in Iraq, and it was April of '08, and he said, "Hey Tom," and one of my buddies, can you bring the guys home? I got to go home and take care of my kid who's not doing well in school." And we were like, "Yeah, boss, we got this, no problem." He had gone home, and what had happened was he was having relationship issues, and so he didn't end up fixing those relationships. He hung himself in his backyard, and so I had to go. I had to go from Iraq. Me and my buddy went back there, buried him, gave the flag to his wife, came back, got the troops, took him back to the States, then had another ceremony. So I went and saw therapy after that. I was like, man, I'm messed up. This is really messing me up. So I went and saw a civilian therapist because I didn't want to see one on base because I was like, I don't want anyone to know. So I went and sought help. And so when I sought the help, she just was telling me, no, you're just grieving, you're going to be fine, don't worry about it, it's going to pass. And I was like, no, this is really messing with me. Like this is my first bout with suicide. I don't understand. This really messing with my mind. And she was like, it's part of the grieving process, you're going to be okay, it'll pass, blah blah. And I had told her, I was like, your help right now makes me want to, because I rode my motorcycle to the therapy, I said, you want to make me want to ride my bike into a wall right now. And she just laughed and was like, no, you won't. You're fine. You're just going to be okay. So I left that meeting never seeking therapy again because I thought if this is how I'm going to be treated at therapy, then this doesn't help me none. And so I tell people, I said, then you fast forward 2 years and I try to take 2 people's lives. I'm like, what I learned from all this is I shouldn't have stopped seeking therapy. Therapy is more intense than a relationship. You're sharing some of the deepest, darkest secrets with a person and you're trying to get that thing. So I shouldn't have stopped because she told me that. I should have went and found another one, because not one that's going to say, Tom, you're great, you're awesome, the world's wrong, you're right. But somebody that can compliment me, that's going to listen to me, but that we bond, right? That we have a connection. So I should have kept looking. I shouldn't have stopped. I shouldn't have gave up. I should have kept looking. And I think that's where a lot of us veterans go wrong too, is we go for one, and when we don't get the answer we like, then we stop because we're like, well, we'll just, never mind, we'll just do it on our own. And we fall into that trap where we should continue to look for the right answers. We do it in the military anyways. It usually no is not something a boss ever hears. You always got to find some way you will make the mission happen one way or another. There's never a no. So why do we do that in our own mental health? Why do we say, oh, well, that's not the answer I wanted, and that's not the right answer, and we just stop, right? We should continue to find that connection. And that's why I try to give everyone now.
That's right. And that's what you do all the time. You retrain and you retrain and you train and you retrain and you retrain and you retrain. Like, that's what I love working with men and women from the military, is because, and athletes, they train all the time. Mm-hmm. Childhoods, you're training, you have military training, you have relationship training, you have life training. Like, there's a whole bunch of training, and some is really helpful and some isn't. There's therapy training, right? Like, I'm trained as a therapist. Some of it I throw out. I go, I will never say that to anybody. I would never do that, right? Even though I was trained to do it, I know it doesn't work. I know it's not okay. So I go, no, I'm not doing that. One time we used to drill holes in people's heads to let the demons out. That was our therapeutic training, right? So I'm very clear, and I love what you're saying, because the other thing you guys taught me was about a rucksack. And I know this about you guys now. If I gave you a rucksack, if I was the staff sergeant, I'd give you a rucksack, and we're going out on a mission, and you need certain shit in that rucksack to save your life and to save the lives of your men and women and complete the mission. And that rucksack was filled halfway with shit that wasn't yours, didn't work, wasn't right for the mission, and weighed you down. The minute I turned my back, what would you do, Tom Cruise?
Yeah, I get rid of it because it's not so central to the mission.
Of course you would dump that shit out, bury it, so that
Yep.
and put stuff in there that you need in order to complete the mission. That's what therapy is.
Yep.
It's just helping you put in that rucksack things that, and that changes. But things in there that works for you, and you're learning. We started this conversation with saying, well, wait a minute, the men and women in these correctional facilities actually are giving me more information as well. Your fiance, now wife, gave you more information and more training. Your son is training you. Like, there's two kinds of people in the world. And when I met you, I said, oh, great, he's one of those. And there's only two kinds. We don't think it's race, we think it's gender, that's not. It's people who do not want to know.
Yep.
I don't want to know. Don't try to tell them. Don't try to train them. Don't try to give them any more information. They already know, or they don't want to know.
Yep.
So nothing else is going in. And then there's some people, I wish more, who want to know. They want to know. Even that therapist didn't want to know.
Yep.
She didn't want to know, which is unfortunate, because I think that's the prerequisite for being a therapist, is to be curious and want to know from your perspective, not mine.
Yeah.
Right. So we just did that with your childhood. We kind of looked at things. You said, no, it wasn't that. It was this. I go, oh, great. Now I got it. I knew it had to be one or the other. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's that stuff that, and you got tremendous, if you really look at all the great stuff that you and your wife and now your son are doing, it's because you know, you want to know, and you're still learning, and you're still.
And that's why, everybody always wants to have me, like, on these podcasts. Everyone wants to fly me out, like, Indiana. They flew me out to Indiana to be a guest speaker at all this stuff. And I don't like that. I am not the star of this show. If you ask me, I don't want to be here. It wasn't my choice to live. I live because my wife was able to talk the way she talked and did what she did and cared. My son is a huge motivation for me. They're actually the stars of this show. They're the ones that got to deal with me 24/7. So that's why we're very unique in what we do, is nobody else does what we do. We travel as a family. We speak as a family. We do this as a family because I know I cannot do this on my own. I've tried. I tried it for a very long time and see where it got me. It did not work. I know that my support system has to be there to be able to lean on just as much as they lean on me to be the head of the household. I have to lean on them with their strengths, their skills, their love, their support. And none of us do that. And, and that's why it's like, we need to show more of that. And that's what I do in the jails, is I try to make them feel bad about this situation. I'm like, you're on it. And I got mad at him today because a guy came in, got out and came back in. And I was like, you know what? I was like, you guys are hurting more people than you're actually understanding. You're in here on a vacation while everybody else is struggling in the real world still with gas, with school, with sports, with life in general. You're on here on a vacation doing nothing, chilling, while they're out there sitting there fighting the world, surviving and living. I said, and then you get out and you expect them all to just embrace you and say, oh, you're back and all dad's here and all that. I'm like, do you know how many walls are built up? As the many times you go in there, those walls keep getting higher and higher, both to your family, to your kids, your niece, your nephews, your uncles, your fathers, mothers. But yet you keep going back and telling them, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be better, I'm going to be better. And then you go back and hurt them again. I said, so you really got to understand the support system you have and lean on them. I'm like, who's the one putting money on your books? Who's the one, like, Heather was the one that, the minute, and I don't know if you're familiar with DC and all that, but like I was in the middle of DC in a psych ward, and she was about an hour and a half away at our house that had been torn up by the police, that I had torn up. And she came literally the next day with no obligations. She was my fiance, so she could have went back to Ohio and said, screw this. She drove that traffic after being, in that situation as a hostage the next day, and every day came and saw me during visitation hours out through the psych ward. So that's support. That's showing that, even though I'm not worthy of that, that I was worthy of that still. Yeah. And so I try to impress on people that having a support system, and it really starts with those around you. It may not be family. Maybe you don't have a wife, a kid, but I bet you have a niece, a nephew that looks up to you, brother, sister, uncle, dad, somebody that I guarantee you're hurting by your actions when you do things like the vices that you don't have that aren't good.
Yeah, no, that's really true. And I'm glad you brought that up. It's that idea too, that one of the things the military that you understand so well, as do athletes that work on teams, is everything you do affects somebody else. Right? Everything that you do. There's no mission that you could go on just by yourself. Even if you did have to go, like I talked to the EOD men and women, and it's like, no, they may make that walk out there, but they have a whole support and training before you that are around you, that's part of your team. Who's that? Is that him? Come over here. Come, no, get back in here. Get back in here. I want to see you.
We had to shut the door because our house got flooded during the thing, so I got fans running and all that.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Yeah, how are you?
Good.
My name's Suzi.
Hello, Susan.
Hello. I just been talking to your dad. He was telling me how you helped him today. Yeah, you saw him. He's getting a little stressful. And what were you able to do?
So my dad was stressed out because, well, having to move and all that.
Yeah.
So I saw him like rubbing his head and all that, and his legs started to shake. So I gave him a hug. And he's over here looking at me like, I'm fine.
That's awesome.
It's an interesting story.
Yeah.
It is an interesting story. It is. Do you, when you get upset, does he notice and give you a hug? Does that happen the other way?
Yeah, it happens.
Okay. All right. You don't look like you get too upset about too much, do you?
No, I don't.
I was just sort of looking at you thinking, I think you're not that kind of guy. I have a grandson that's like that. He doesn't get upset about too much.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He's been really good, and we try to, again, incorporate him in everything that we do so that he feels part of it. Like he is part of my healing process and my therapy and all that stuff. And again, I tell people, I don't want to put the burden on him, but I also don't see it as a burden. I see him as being part of the family, maturing, him having to being able to be comfortable helping me, but also if he needs help, that he knows that I'm not perfect. I don't have everything in order. And so for me to show him my flaws, it has him being able to accept his and be able to ask for help.
That's right. And it's being able to say you made a mistake. Like I make 5 mistakes a day, and that's on a good day. At least 5. That's what I told my grandson. Tell me your first name again. I forgot because I'm old.
Holden.
What is it?
We named him Holden from Catching the Rye.
Yes, Holden. So Holden, I want to tell you something else that's really neat. So what you have now, what your dad and your mom have trained you to understand, is you kind of have a superpower. You're kind of like a 10-year-old superpower, superhero. Because my grandson, I taught him the same thing. And about a month ago, his friend was really struggling with anxiety, and he was struggling really hard. He was 17 with his mother. And my grandson saw it, and he came to me and he said, my friend is really struggling. Can you help him, Jima? So I started to talk to him, and then I called his mom, and then I talked to his mom, and then we all talked, and he just went somewhere to get more training and help. And he hugged all of us and said, oh my God, thank you so much, because I didn't know how to share how I was feeling. So that's what we get to do for each other. So you have a superpower now, because you can see that on people.
And since we do live apart, because him and mom live in Ohio because she's going through an accelerated LPN course.
Yeah.
And so once they graduate, they'll move down here. But he's identified in himself that he needed to see somebody because of the distance and all that. And so he's come to us and said, hey, I would like to be able to go talk to somebody. Can you set that up? And so we've worked out with his pediatrician and all that to, have him be able to have somebody to go talk to about, the stressors that he's going through with us being in 2 different areas, being in a school, and, he's a military brat. So he goes to a very, Ohio's a very liberal area. So they're not used to the military. So he's having a hard time adjusting. They're both ways. They're having a hard time adjusting to him, and he's having a hard time adjusting there. So he identified that and wanted to be able to go talk to somebody. And we obviously didn't scorned him or told him he doesn't have an issue or no problems. We're like, yeah, all right, buddy, we'll get you, look, you know, we'll get you somebody, because everyone needs someone to talk to.
That's right. Holden, I'll just ask you one more thing because I think it's important. So when your dad just called you military brat, that's what's been called forever when kids grow up in a military family. But what I've noticed about kids that grow up in a military family is that they're the opposite of a brat. Right? They're actually military warrior kids.
No,
That's what I call them, right? Because you guys have more ability to do things. You understand things better. You're more adaptable. You're more courageous in many ways. And you know, have more life lessons in you than most kids that never have to go through that. And you're right. Then you're going to be a little bit different. I mean, I just have to tell you that you're going to be a little bit different. And that makes, yeah, is that true? I mean, you're just different at times.
Yeah.
But a good different.
Yeah. I'm okay.
Yeah, and okay, because it's hard to be different. Like when you're a kid, you're growing up and you want to kind of wear the right stuff. You have to kind of have the right shoes. Shoes are very important. I understand that now with my grandson. Look at him smile, hold him smile. You have to have the right haircut, like, and things go in and out all the time, right? Holden, I mean, like one week, and then you have to be playing the right games. So tell me, which game is your favorite game to play?
Martial arts.
There you go. That's it.
Takes taekwondo.
It is. Right. Right. So I don't do martial arts, but I do box.
Mhm.
And I box with George Foreman's son. Now your dad knows who George Foreman is. Yeah, you won't know. But his son is my boxing coach.
Oh, wow.
And I'm really good, even for an old grandmother. I'm really good. I'm really good at it. So I just want you to know. Thank you, Holden, for being here. You can stay with us if you want. I'm just going to ask your dad a couple more questions. You can stay or leave, whatever you need. All right. Yeah, I figured he says, I'm done with those old people. I don't need that. How cool is that, Tom?
Yeah. No, that's awesome to have them. Again, you know, I tell people all the time, you know, I hate, some part of me hates it to have them put it through all that, but most of me always is proud that, you know, I've been able to instill some of that stuff into him, and for him to be comfortable to ask questions and be able to help out and be, you know, it's all about making sure he's part of the family and incorporated. And because I still have a true, you know, I've been diagnosed with all kinds of stuff because they just want to throw stuff at me. They say, well, you just got this. And I'm like, so, you know, me going to do these talks and therapies and talking to people in jail or going to these stories, it is therapeutic for me, and being able to share that with him and show him, again, like I said, I'm flawed. I have issues. I make mistakes. I don't know. I don't have the answer all the time. You know, hopefully that helps round him out where he isn't, you know, entitled, or he isn't, you know, thinks he's got all the answers, or that he can, or he should be scared that we go, you know, either find the answers or go ask somebody for help.
Sure. And you're helping him find balance. You know, that's the trouble. We go from one extreme to the other oftentimes in our families. And the kids, what they really want is they want that balance. They naturally want that balance. And so that for me is like, I always joke with my grandson and say, look, there's have tos in life and there's want tos. Either extreme is not going to give you the best life that you deserve. You deserve both, some have tos and some want tos. And they might be unequal for a while, but that's, you know, keep trying to find that balance. So I have a question for you that I'm sure, I don't think anybody's asked you this. I just doubt anybody's asked you this. Tom, what makes you laugh? What makes you, because you're a very serious guy. I see that. So what makes you laugh hard? Where's your joy? Where does it come from besides Holden?
I would have to say with Holden, watching him grow and watching him do stuff, and then him always, so, you know, a lot of it has to do with him. It's the joy, the laughing, when we go on walks and we do, you know, we go for talks, and that, yeah, like he's nonstop. He will talk, like if we walk for an hour and a half, he will talk, you know, 89 minutes of it, and just tell me about dinosaurs or bugs or this or that. And, you know, for me, that makes me laugh and enjoy it, because it's, you know, being in the intel field, you know, doing interrogations and all that stuff, I'm all about how does the mind work and why does it say the things it does. And I'm very, you know, keen on people's, you know, facial and body movements and all that. And so watching him grow, watching him learn, watching the things that come out of him or how he thinks, that always just makes me laugh sometimes. And I try not to laugh because, you know, I don't want him to take it wrong, because he's like, well, why are you laughing at me? But it's more of like, wow, just being able to experience all that and do that is really, it really is making me laugh. MVP is another one, has makes me laugh because when I retired out of Europe, and then I retired straight to Ohio, and then I came straight to Texas. I didn't have any military family. I didn't have anything. I lost all my sense of identity. I lost all my, purpose and everything. Because 26 years of my life, 26 and a half years of my life has known nothing but the military. And now I'm thrown back in the civilian world, which I'm not adapting to very well. And having MVP
Me
here,
either, and I'm one of them. They irritate the shit out of me.
yeah, and in meeting Denver, and then Denver, and then getting with the crew in Dallas, it's just and I live in Fort Worth, so it's like literally about an hour drive to the facility to do the training. And every time I'm like, I don't want to go do this, I'm like told, go do it. And I don't ever regret going each week. The workout, I tell people in jail, I work out once a week for 30 to 45 minutes. That's it. And it's on Tuesday nights at 6:30 at MVP. Just because, not because I want to work out and whatever, like whatever. It's because I need that huddle afterwards. I need that camaraderie. I need the guys around, and the gal and the women. It's just that environment for me brings me joy, brings me laugh, hanging out with the athletes, and hanging out with the guys, and hearing their stories. And so MVP for me has been really, really, really helpful. Being able to try to adjust the best I can out here right now. So I can't talk enough about, the MVP and the crew lead here in Dallas. At least I'm sure it's at all the other locations, but I know the one here in Dallas, we check up on each other all the time. We go to all these community events together. It's really been huge, at least for me personally. And I can't talk enough about it.
I love hearing that, because when I've known about it for a long time. I actually, when you were in Virginia, I was actually one of the original creators of the Boulder Crest, or the Warrior Path program.
Mm-hmm.
So I lived in Middleburg. I lived, near Bluemont, where Boulder Crest started. So so same for me. When you find programs and people that you love working with, and you're doing something that is working, and it brings you joy, and it does bring up that laughter. I'm a huge fan of that.
And that's the same thing with working when I work with, One Community USA has given me a great opportunity to be able to give my lived experience, work with my suicide stuff, but also give back to the community by working in these jails and prisons, and changing people's lives. I can show, and I've only really been in the program's been around for a while, but COVID's kicked us out of the jail. I've only been able to get into the jail since July. And I can already show the difference between the guys that have gotten out, that are with me in my program that I'm mentoring, versus the guys that just got out and tried to do it on their own without any support. I can show that, the lives of the guys that I'm mentoring, their lives aren't that bad. I'm not a magician. I didn't make their lives better, right? I didn't give them a car. They're not rich. They're not, got the $1 million jobs. They're still struggling, but they're struggling now in a different way, right? They're struggling a legal way. They're struggling a legal way mentally and physically. Instead of being angry or upset or successes and hitting the bottle, hitting drugs, or doing whatever else, they're now either failing or succeeding, both in a new way, and a new way of thinking about it, like the rest of us kind of do, that take for granted how we sometimes cope with some of these things, right or wrong. And being able to see them grow has made a huge impact on me. And then being able to take that back into the jails. Because like today, I had a guy that just got out like a week ago, and he tried to call me on my BS, right? Like, he called me on my work, and he's like, "Hey, this is so-and-so, I just wanted to see." And I was like, "What do you need?" I'm working. And he's like, "Oh, I just want to give you an update." And he gave me how he was doing. And he's like, "Hey, make sure you go back into jail and tell him my story." So I went into jail today. I said, "Hey, remember so-and-so?" He wanted me to remind, and they all just start clapping. They all were all happy. They were all like, so it's like a brotherhood, just the same, that they're seeing. They want to succeed. They just need that extra help. They need a community. I tell them most of the work's got to come from them, though, because they've hurt too many people, both in the community and their family and themselves. And they need to do a lot of repair and stop being selfish.
Yeah.
So being able to do that brings me a lot of joy and too.
Yeah, one of the things I realized when I started to do my own personal work first. So one of the things I'm very clear is that I understand that doctors and the medical model is you take the Hippocratic oath. I say, no, you take the hypocritical oath. That's the problem. And I said, I've never asked anybody to do anything I'm not doing. So first I have to do my own work. Second of all, I have to continue to do my own work before I help you do your work. Because, you know, I'm never going to ask you to do something I'm not doing. And I think for all of us, the point is that's when we really connect. That's when we know we're there truly for ourselves and for others. So I never say that people need therapy. I always say you deserve support. You deserve help from people that are doing the same thing and going through the same thing you're going through, maybe in a different way, maybe from a different background. But the fact remains is you deserve to create the person you want to be and the life that you want to live. You get to do that. And we get to help each other. I can't thank you enough for this. I knew this was going to be great having you on.
Of course.
You're the first person that I've done the least amount of knowing about and had on. So I used my intuitive sense with you. I go, oh no, Tom Cruz, he's on. We're doing this.
At least, and from another perspective, you know, from the MVP Dallas side, at least you are held in high regards. You were talked about very highly. We obviously we mention you every week. That we got a clinical director on staff if you need help, and a lot of people have vouched for you, which is huge in our community, right? Like, you know, you may be a civilian but you understand us. That is huge to hear from our peers, that somebody vouches for a civilian or vouches for therapists or vouches for in the medical field, because we are so tainted from the VA. We're so tainted by our own experiences or non-experiences in the military, getting help or not help, and how we're seeing. So when someone has done so much that like you have done for, and I can only talk for the Dallas because that's where I'm at, as much as you've done for the MVP Dallas people, that's huge, and that will go a long ways. And I greatly appreciate everything you've done for the people you have talked to and helped through, and you're highly regarded down here in Dallas. So thank you so much for what you do.
Well, you guys make me, and women make me, a better human. That's number one. So I do it purely also for the fact that I'm getting something from it as well, because I really am a different person when I work with men and women like yourself. It's really remarkable for my own life. And I love to work with people who want to change. Like they want it. It's like you guys are hungry for it, and it's wonderful. And plus the fact that you like that I can swear. Like, you know, I just swear a lot. And I never was in a place where that was so appropriate that I could swear so much, you know, never in anger, but swear nonetheless a lot. So I am from Massachusetts, and we do call ourselves massholes. I mean, that's what we call ourselves. So that's what I do. Awesome. Tom Cruz, I'm coming to Dallas. I don't know when, probably when it gets a little warmer and everything. I said to Denver, I said, I'm coming down to Dallas. And we're actually talking about doing a retreat down there. Actually, we're talking about doing it in Austin, just because there's a lot of good facilities. So I will let you know, because it's going to be free of charge and open to MVP members. So you already got a seat.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bless you.
Thank you.
Blessing for all the work you do.
Thank you so much.
All right. Give my best to your wonderful son, Holden.
I will.
Take care. And oh, by the way, our theme song, it's called Be Your Best Self. And it was written by Calvin Love. You should look him up. It's really interesting who his dad is and who he is. So he gave me, it's called Be Your Best Self, and Calvin Love is the guy that wrote the song.
Awesome.
And he gave it for free. Really cool. All right, everybody, be crazy well until next week. Thank you so much, Tom Cruz. I got to talk to Tom Cruz. Actually, wait, I got to tell you one funny story. Oh my God. So I come to Hollywood. I'm at this place called the Roxbury. There's actually a movie about it called the Roxbury, which was this really fancy club. And then they had a VIP room. And for whatever reason, somehow I got asked into the VIP room. And I felt so out of place. I'm this, you know, woman from Boston, and all of a sudden I'm in Hollywood in this VIP room. So I go, I got to leave. So I start to try to get out of the room, and I'm like this, trying to get out. And people going by me, and you don't know this from now, but I'm only 5 feet. So as people going by me, all of a sudden, this very tall person, and all I could see was like chest level of this woman. And I look up, and it's Nicole Kidman, right? She kind of looks down at me and smiles, and her arm is reaching in front of me, and another arm that she's holding on to comes in front of my face, and I become nose to nose with Tom Cruise.
Oh, wow.
Nose to nose with Tom Cruise. Like that's pretty short. So
yeah, that's
there's my other Tom Cruise story.
There you go. Look at you. Wow.
All right, take care, Tom
Thank
Cruise.
you.
Bless you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.